Now, let me be very clear about this. There are some things that I just absolutely hate about Palantir stock. And my guess is, after we talk about this today, many of you guys are going to feel the same exact way. So let's discuss that today, along with my latest price target for Palantir stock. So this is going to kind of be more of a rant style video. I apologize in advance if that's not necessarily your thing, but I got to kind of get these things off my chest. But keep in mind, I am a Palantir shareholder and I've been long Palantir for a long time now. As a matter of fact, I was actually turned onto the stock by a buddy of mine who said, hey, you really need to look at this Palantir stock that's coming to the DPO market. They work with them. They were just like, trust me, it's an incredible product. That's something you definitely want to own. So I actually wanted to own it for a long time, but of course we all know what happened. As soon as it DPO'd, it basically went to the moon, almost to $40 a share. It was just insanity. And I wanted no part of the stock at that stage, at that particular price. But like what always happens, stocks always come back down to fair value, then down below fair value. So we were given a great chance last year at a great valuation. And of course, I was out there gobbling up shares. So in my group, I basically get a lot of videos sent to me all the time in my DMs. They're posted there in the Discord. You know, people ask questions about them, all these other sort of things like that. Which, by the way, remember the flash sale for Tesla's earnings is going to end as soon as Tesla's earnings start on Wednesday. So make sure you take advantage if you want to be able to do things like listen to that earnings call and other earnings calls with me in person as they happen. Or you want to be able to slide into my DMs or be able to contact me directly so that way we can kind of work together and figure out all this investing stuff. Anyways, the point being, check out the pinned comment down there and see if a membership's right for you and take advantage of the sale before it ends and the price goes up. But kind of back on topic here, I get videos sent to me all the time or posted in that group that are both good and bad. And I got to be honest with you, more than 98% of them, I absolutely hate. And the last reason why I absolutely hate it here, guys, is it's just the biggest one. I don't know, it just makes my skin crawl. It's so icky. But I'll recover from that ickiness and give you my price target as well for Palantir. But we got to kind of get through this whole rant thing first. So the first thing I hate is Palantir bears in general. And guys, this is very basic. This is very simple. They basically ignore everything about the stock. They ignore actual facts with the stock in regards to all the contracts they continue to add over and over and over again. They tend to ignore things like free cash flow, or all kinds of other metrics like that, growth metrics that are showing that Palantir is absolutely growing, and they just can't seem to make up their mind. One quarter, it's, hey, we really want to see a lot more commercial. There's too much government going on. And then in the very next quarter, they deliver on exactly that. And then it's like, oh, wait a second now. We're not really seeing the growth in the government sector we thought we would see before. So we got kind of problems over there, which of course, then they flip and they give more government the next quarter. And then it goes right back over to the commercial sector again. They make absolutely no sense. And no matter what Palantir does, even if they were to split that number right down the middle, they're just going to complain about that as well. So for me, it's just the bears repeatedly ignore all the great things that Palantir is doing, all the great things that they're offering, all the contracts that are kind of in the pipeline and coming. They completely ignore how they actually operate the business, how Alex actually treats his financials, and how he's very, very conservative, and he doesn't play a lot of the games that a lot of other companies play to kind of boost the numbers, to kind of make the EPS look better than it is, or the revenue number to look better than it is. He doesn't play a lot of those games. And repeatedly, when I see these bear videos and articles that get posted or that get sent to me, it is the same exact stuff over and over and over again, the same exact droning on and on and on about things that in some cases aren't even true or aren't even real. And in other cases, there's stuff that was solved years ago. Like, for instance, stock-based compensation. That still comes up from time to time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, do we still have to have this conversation at this stage in anyone's life, much less Palantir's life, considering how much they've continued to reduce that over and over and over again. But yet it seems like people are still thinking this is 2 or 3 years ago, whenever that was a much higher number than it is right now. And oh, by the way, every single publicly traded company incentivizes their employees with stock-based compensation. So it's not like it's going to go down to zero, guys. There are very, very few companies out there, if any, that have that number down to zero. So there is absolutely no point in even bringing that up. Not a concern at all. I'm sure as heck have not heard any big Wall Street folks saying that's a concern at all. It's just these silly narratives that get tossed around and then they kind of become part of the vernacular with Palantir stock, despite the fact it's not an issue at all. So those sort of things just absolutely infuriate me. And I absolutely hate that about Palantir stock, the fact that it still continues to have this derisive of an answer in regards to the bears, in regards to their arguments. I'd much rather see actual bear arguments that would actually, give me something to sink my teeth into to kind of understand that other side so I can kind of weigh the risk. But right now, what the bears say, it's just garbage. And it doesn't actually show me any of the risk with the stock at all or any of the problems with the stock at all. It's just, clickbait headlines in order to get clickbait headlines in order to get clicks and likes and all that other crap like that for people who just like dumping all over stocks like Palantir. So the second thing that I hate is Palantir bulls. And that's right, guys. The bulls are not off the hook either by any stretch of the imagination, because it just drives me nuts whenever I hear bulls out there saying, oh, hey, this is an easy 10x in 2 or 3 years, or this is an easy, $600 stock here, or $1,000 here, or whatever the case is. All sorts of utterly ridiculous numbers gets thrown around, despite the fact that when you're actually looking at factual data, even if they see that sort of growth, that's a very, very aggressive growth rate that they may or may not actually get to, that's not the way Alex does the accounting. He puts the money back into the business. He's not going to create these outsized profits. He's going to put the money back in the business, which of course means EPS is going to stay down. Obviously, your net income is going to stay down. A lot of other things aren't going to grow like you would necessarily suspect that they are, because he's going to pour it back into the business. He has always run it that way. You're going to see a good number on the free cash flow, which of course is something I absolutely clued into at the very start from Palantir. But in regards to seeing these big headline numbers that are really going to get investors excited about the stock to where you could potentially see that 10x one day, I'm not saying we won't see it, but it's years into the future, in my opinion. But until we see him actually do the accounting different and actually run the business different, that's not going to be possible for a lot of these big numbers to happen, because he's not going to give them the EPS and the earnings necessary in order to drive those higher numbers. Oh, but by the way, talking about Alex, he also is not a net positive to investors, to large investors, to institutional investors, which sooner or later you're going to need their money to come in. He is getting better. I agree. It is light years better than what it was, but he's still a very rough character, and navigating those waters in regards to drawing in larger investors and building out that strong, baseline investor base. Sure, performance in the end is what matters, but it's going to take a lot longer with all the rough edges that Alex actually has around him. So you have to understand that. You got to kind of keep that in mind and not try to fool yourself with thinking that, oh, that doesn't matter. Oh, those Wall Street guys aren't going to think that. Oh, just performance is all that matters. If anything, we should know, especially if you follow a stock like Tesla, performance doesn't always matter whenever you have a CEO that's kind of, not the traditional button-up style CEO. There's a lot of times that stock should have had more of a run in it, and it didn't happen because of things that Elon said or Elon tweeted or whatever the case was. Fair, not fair, totally irrelevant. This is how investing works, and a lot of times the bulls completely ignore those facts about investing, and especially as we get into those larger institutional investors, and as you kind of move up the market cap scale, you've got to have those guys come on board. And for right now, Alex is getting better, but he's not there. He's not on the Tim Cook level. He's much, closer to the Elon level than he is the Tim Cook level in terms of polish in regards to the CEO spot, which that is what you need to draw a large investor base that stays in your stock even when times get tough. And kind of the other thing that kind of comes up from time to time, it's cooled down a bit, but that definitely the bulls drag out, is knocking that sales team basically for not performing the way they feel it should perform in very, very condensed time frames, and ignoring the fact that, hey, the sales cycle for Palantir is very long and it's very complex. And in order to get sales folks to have the amount of knowledge to actually be able to pitch and intelligently talk about some of these incredibly complex, products that Palantir has, it's not going to happen overnight. And bulls just like to ignore all those facts and just pretend like, hey, if these guys next quarter don't turn it around, this sales team's terrible. And that's just not the way it's set up in the first place. And that's not dealing with the complexities of the product and everything else that comes along with Palantir. It's going to take a lot more time in the sales process than it does for Snowflake or any other company that's far less complex and far more of a plug and play in a completely different type of sales funnel than what Palantir has. And kind of talking about the sales process, getting to the contract, the other thing that drives me nuts with the bulls is every single contract is not a freaking game changer for the stock, guys. This is a slow, steady growth stock that's just going to add contract after contract after contract. And then, of course, especially with government contracting and some of these other things, we tend to ignore that it's a 7-year contract, it's a 5-year contract, it's an 8-year contract, 10-year contract, whatever it is. The point being, these contracts aren't game changers at the time. They're going to change things gradually over time. You're going to see a nice, steady growth rate in regards to these contracts, but it's not like this magic. The way it seems and the way it's presented is, oh my gosh, they just signed this contract. Now Palantir can 10x from here because of this contract. And it's like, that's not the case at all. The way the business is set up and the way these contracts flow in and the way that they pay out makes it to where I don't know of a contract that could come in and be some sort of a, oh my gosh, that completely alters the way that Palantir does business. It completely alters their revenue. Wow, they're going to see a massive jump in revenue next quarter because of that contract or whatever the case is. It's just not how that business is built. It's not how it all flows out. But yet you'll see every single contract that they land, whether it's, 50 million or 250 million, is game changing, forever changing the stock and changing the trajectory and all that other stuff like that. And it's just frustrating because I know it gets folks excited, which is great. But in the end, we need to be looking at valuation and getting excited about valuation as it comes down, not this contract or that contract that are great. They are great to see. It's great to see that progress, but they're not going to add that much to the bottom line to the stock next quarter. Sorry, that's just the reality with all these contracts. And the last thing that I really hate, because it reflects one of the biggest fallacies in investing that just it permeates all over YouTube, and I don't know why, but that would be that investing in Palantir is a zero-sum game. Essentially, you're either all in on Palantir and they're going to win everything, or they're not going to win everything and they're just going under and it's just a terrible company and nobody likes them. And nothing could be further from the truth, guys. There are always multiple winners in every single space. There's going to be multiple winners in EV. I agree. I think it's going to be Tesla's going to be the leader out of that group. Absolutely agree. But there's going to be some legacy auto that makes it as well. There's going to be some other foreign companies that make it as well. There's going to be plenty of Chinese automakers that are going to make it as well. There's going to be multiple winners in the space, and that's proven through the history of time. Apple and Microsoft both seem to coexist, even though I remember those arguments back in the day of, ooh, which team are you on? You team Apple, you team Microsoft, who's going to dominate the world? Well, guess what? They both kind of do now. Hadn't really mattered much. And I see all sorts of craziness around that. Like, hey, Tesla's going to come over here and kill Palantir, or Palantir somehow is going to take over Tesla's AI. I don't know. I've just seen some really, really strange things, and they just don't hold true. As a matter of fact, I think there's plenty of room for Snowflake and Palantir, even though I know they're not exactly the same, but they're kind of the closest thing that kind of gets compared out there. They can both win. They both have products that benefit different companies that are at different stages that have different needs. So I absolutely think, and there's plenty out there for these guys to grab all of it. So there's plenty of room for both of those stocks to win and a lot of other stocks to win. The idea of zero-sum investing is just silliness at this stage. You don't have to go down that route. I don't know where it comes from, but zero-sum investing drives me absolutely nuts. All right, enough of that. I apologize. I got that off my chest. Let's talk about what the price target I have for Palantir is and exactly where I want to be. So let's talk about Palantir's price target. Now, when it comes to my price target for Palantir, keep in mind I have a full position. And what that means is I already own all the shares that I want to own. So let's say you had a goal of owning 10,000 shares, we'll say, whatever your goal is, doesn't matter. Or maybe you want to own $10,000 worth of Palantir. Whatever the case is, however you're choosing to mark out how many shares you want to own or how much you want to own a Palantir, I've already achieved that. Matter of fact, because of all the discounts we got last year, I actually am kind of overweight on it, right? I mean, if you're going to give me a stock like Palantir in the 6s and the 7s, basically month after month, even when it goes on a run, it fell right back down right into that range. I'm going to continue to buy and buy and buy. It's just basically like a teenager that basically went out and, I don't know, had an all-day soccer tournament or something, and at the end of the day, hadn't eaten all day long. Here's a buffet in front of you. Go feast. Man, there's going to be a lot of food put down if you kind of remember back to those teenage days when you could eat 2 large pizzas and, I don't know, 4 or 5 burritos and no problem at all. That's kind of what I did with Palantir and a lot of other stocks too as well. So I'm actually own more than what I would consider a full position in regards to Palantir. However, with any great stock, I still want to add more as they continue to execute quarter after quarter after quarter, because that's how you build wealth long term. Think about if I stopped buying Apple after I bought my initial shares and filled out my position, quote unquote, in 2003. I mean, if I didn't buy in 2012 or 13 or 14, 15, even 2019, 2020, man, I'd have a lot less shares and my net worth would be a whole lot, and go and look and see what Apple stock did during all those times. I'm glad that I added those shares because I own a lot more now than I would have owned otherwise following this same exact method. So I'm going to continue to look to add shares at Palantir, but I want a significant discount for those shares because I have all the shares that I need. But if I never get another share, that's okay. I can live with myself if I don't get another share. So my price target for Palantir right now is $10.69. And if Wall Street gets stupid and wants to beat it down and saying that's impossible, although I agree it's unlikely, but to say it's impossible, well, we're kind of underestimating Wall Street here. And I might have to move that price target up after their earnings. We'll wait and see what they do on the earnings call here. So that's kind of the way this game gets played from here. That's what I see. That's my price target for Palantir. And remember, if you want to see all my buy and sell alerts in real time, you want to see my watch list complete with price targets for all the stocks that I'm targeting, you want to take 5 courses for free, you want to use our stock analyzer tool for free, you want to be a part of the best 6, 7, and 8-figure Discord out there, you want direct access to me anytime you want. Heck, you can slide in my DMs, jump on our live Q&As. So many different ways to contact me there. Make sure you check out the pinned comment, see if a membership's right for you, because that flash sale does end as soon as Tesla's earnings call starts. So make sure you get your membership. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. and click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.